Okay, everyone, looks like we are live here. Okay, so we're just going to do a reading of a Dr. Wilson article called Healing the Earth. Let me make sure that this is all good. Okay, looks good. Okay, should be working okay. Comment if it's not working okay. Okay, so like I said, we're going to do a reading of Healing the Earth, which is an article by Dr. Lawrence Wilson on his website. Okay, and then once I'm finished, if many of you are watching live, I will go and answer any questions that you might have, either about the article or anything in general. And so we'll do a short Q&A once I'm done. Okay. So, introduction. Our planet is desperately in need of healing. This article discusses the major areas of cleanup that are needed. Okay. So, this is true. The planet is in need of healing. And also, you have to realize that the planet is a living being. Okay. And our health also affects the planet, right? So, as we heal ourselves, it's important to realize that we help heal the planet. Okay. But the planet is in need of cleanup, okay? There's things like nuclear waste, metals in the oceans, and all sorts of things, okay? So the oceans, this is the first concern. The oceans are filled with toxic metals, especially, but also toxic chemicals, ionizing radiation sources, and perhaps other types of pollutants. Okay, so radiation, we're talking about, things from like nuclear waste and stuff. So if you're not familiar with Fukushima, a couple years ago, a tsunami hit Japan, and it destroyed one of their nuclear reactors that they were using for nuclear energy. And this leaking into the ocean continually. And this radiates the entire ocean. Okay, not good. So plastic poisoning. Ocean cleanup is not about plastic soda or water balls or plastic bags strangling the fish. The plastic problem only affects about 1% of the ocean. If you fly over or travel by ship, you know that most of the ocean is not littered with plastic bags. There are just some places where the wind and the waves cause the plastic to build up, but most of the ocean is not affected. Plastic is also relatively easy to clean up. This is allowed because plastic water bottles allow millions of people around the world to drink water. So plastic isn't as bad as you think it is, okay, or we're taught to believe it is. Compared to metals, it actually, it degrades, okay, from the sun and just natural degradation in the environment, okay, and it's not as poisonous as the metals either, because your body has no biochemical reason to hold on to plastic, okay? When your body absorbs metals, it can actually use it and replace it with the good metals in the enzymes. But things like plastic, they have no biochemical use, and the body's more naturally able to eliminate them, okay? So mercury on the other hand is present in every single pint of seawater today, and in all the rivers and lakes. For many people in Asia and elsewhere, they have little to eat except products from the sea that are now contaminated with this toxin. The main culprit in this problem is communist China, which does not put scrubbers on many of their power plants. The result is heavy mercury contamination of the air, which ends up in the water. It is also a serious concern in some areas and will be cleared first, okay? So this is a big problem, okay? So we are taught a lot that America is a very bad polluter and things like that. But in reality, the worst polluter is China and India. And they don't have the regulations that we do to put scrubbers on their power plants. And so all this mercury goes into the air and into the ocean. And we can see it in people's hair tests. When people eat a lot of large fish, like something like tuna, they accumulate a lot of mercury in their bodies, okay? And this is... not a good thing. Let's see here. So the oceans are life's reservoir for many things, not just water. The ocean plants, such as kelp, produce most of the oxygen on the planet. Also, fish and other sea creatures are the main source of food on the planet. This is why cleaning up the oceans is a top priority. If this is an area that interests you, look for a job helping in this area. Jobs range from manual labor jobs to technical assessment and supervisory jobs. So yeah, if you're looking into cleaning up the earth and clean up the oceans and you're worried about the oceans, well, get a job cleaning up the oceans, right? Simple as that. Springs. Earth is blessed with many healthy springs for drinking water and many aquifers that supply the wells of the earth. A problem is that toxic metals, toxic chemicals, radiation, and also medical drugs are finding their way into the water supplies and contaminating all of them. On the positive side, there is less dumping of medical waste, radioactive materials, sewage from ships and aircraft, and toxic chemicals, thanks to better laws. Paper companies used to use mercury, but that has been stopped. So not all laws are bad. We want good environmental laws. Freshwater systems are in fair to decent shape in most areas. Many are better than the past due to more careful monitoring and better laws. Some lakes and rivers are not as clean as they need to be for safe swimming, boating, and drinking of water. The reasons are pollutants from factories, sewage systems, radioactive waste from power plants, and toxic chemicals and things like that. Okay, so another interesting thing is that you can use development science for cleaning up the water. Okay, so the water has an oxidation rate and a sodium-potassium ratio, and if we were a higher level civilization, we would actually be monitoring the oceans, looking at the sodium-potassium ratio and the oxidation rate of the ocean, and then we would be mining asteroids or using some other sort of mining, and we'd be taking minerals that would help balance the ocean, and we'd be dumping them into the ocean, and then we would actually be making the ocean more healthy. Okay, this sounds crazy, but it probably will be the case on Earth someday. Not anytime soon, I don't think, but someday we will probably be doing something like that. And that's what other advanced civilizations do. They're actually more active in stabilizing their planet. Okay, as strange as that sounds, I do believe that is the truth. So soil depletion is another problem. The soils are depleted of vital minerals. This is due to bad farming, fertilizers, and then toxic things that we use to grow it. Okay, GMO crops, if you're watching this, you probably know that's a huge issue. And organic farming with non-hybridized crops is a big thing. So hybrids designed for increased yield. We don't want to. So another instance is removal of vital minerals from the soil, because what happens is in today's farming they farm on the topsoil, and they don't actually re-nourish the soil. They just use fertilizer to grow as much as they can, but they don't actually revitalize the soil after the harvest. Okay. Toxic metals are still finding their way into the food supply thanks to bad farming methods. This is quite serious and harms the animals and human beings who eat the food. So sludge that is used as fertilizer, even organic farms use it, but it's usually contaminated because it's sewage. Okay, and then there's heavy metals in the sewage, which is a problem. So toxic chemicals from pesticides and insecticides, this needs to stop. And they're not needed if the soil is made healthy. And then if you click on here, you can also read about using nutritional balancing to heal the soil. So you can actually look at the sodium-potassium ratio, the oxidation rate, and the health of the soil. And the same concepts that we use to heal bodies, we can use to heal soil as well, which is very, very interesting. So biological transmutation. This is the key to this technology is biological transmutation. This concept is used in industry all the time, but it's not taught in chemistry classes. So the best known book is by Dr. Curvan, and it is called Biological Transmutation. Okay, and you'll begin to understand how nutritional balancing really works. So biological transmutation is fascinating, and I do believe it is the truth. So they've done studies where, for example, they measure the calcium content of shells from chickens, right? So chickens lay an egg, and they measure the calcium content of the egg, and then they measure the calcium content of everything. They monitor everything the chicken is eating. And they measure the calcium that the chicken is ingesting, and somehow there's more calcium. There can be more calcium in the eggs that the chickens are producing than they're ingesting in their diet. Now, how is that possible? Where's the calcium coming from? Well, somehow the chickens are producing more calcium than they're intaking, and it seems to be from Dr. Curvan's work that they're actually changing elements inside the body somehow. So they're taking something like magnesium, and they're actually turning it at the atomic level into calcium, which is incredible. And if you tell it to most modern scientists, they're going to laugh at you and say, you're full of it, right? But it seems to be the truth, okay? And there's lots of scientific things that we accept as truth that aren't. And there's many fascinating things, fascinating sciences that get, kind of pushed down, okay? And yeah, it is the truth. And they've also done other studies, for example, where they take someone in the desert, right, and they measure the amount of sodium that they're eliminating in their sweat. You know how your sweat is salty? And then they measure how much salt they're ingesting, and somehow the human beings are excreting more salt than they're ingesting. Okay, so where are the humans getting the salt from? It's the same answer. They're taking something like potassium and they're actually changing it into sodium. And then this book, Biological Transmutation, he's the guy that he did a lot of those sorts of studies, and he has a lot of theories about how the body is doing that. Okay, the use of fossil fuels. This is not destroying the earth as some people assert. However, burning coal without using scrubbers on the power plants, as occurs in Asia, is adding significant mercury and some other pollutants to the air. So again, not all environmental laws are bad. You can have a free market with good regulations. Okay, so I used to be more libertarian before I realized that regulations are needed. Okay, you don't want to burn coal without mercury scrubbers. Okay, but you need common sense approach, right? You don't want to get rid of all the coal burning. You just want to have cleaner coal with scrubbers on it. Okay, the automobiles, these don't need to be terribly polluting. They pollute due to insane regulations. Okay, one example is the requirement to use catalytic converters on all engines. This is a total waste of money. In addition, they add some platinum or palladium to the air, both of which are quite toxic metals. So other crazy things they do is they add toxic manganese to the gasoline. They add cadmium to the brake linings. So also regulations that don't allow you to, there's actually ways to run, so they ban the use of water to power cars. You can actually convert water into hydrogen in your car, and then it actually makes your car run more efficient and more cleanly. If you go onto the internet and just type in HHOH car, I believe that's how you can find it on the internet. Let's see here. Or it's HHO generator. My bad. HHO generator car. And actually have kits that you can buy online. There's a whole community on YouTube, and it's actually completely real. It sounds crazy, but you can help run your car on water. I don't know if you can do it completely, but you can actually buy kits that increase your fuel, how much fuel you'll burn. You'll use like 50% less fuel, and it actually helps clean your engine. It makes it last way longer because you're burning the deposits away with the hydrogen. And so that's a thing that they should allow as well. Okay, so global warming or climate change, which again has been in the news a lot with Greta Thunberg and all that. The climate is always changing. It has always changed throughout history, long before people drove cars or burned gasoline for other reasons. The hysteria about it is completely fabricated and designed to scare people into giving governments more power. Please do not pay attention to the fear-mongering about it. In fact, the planet's temperature is regulated by helpers who can easily speed up the planet a little bit, which moves her further from the sun and cools the planet down. If the planet gets too cold, they slow the planet down, and if it's the opposite, they do the opposite, okay? And he mentions, again, running water in the form of HHO gas, which you can look into online. And there's people on YouTube, again, that tell you how to build these, and they show their results, and it's pretty incredible. And in reality, if the Earth warmed a few degrees, it wouldn't be that significant, right? Because people can move, and it distracts you from the real problems of the planet, okay? For instance, think of all the people living in northern climates, right? If you live in Siberia, and all of a sudden it gets a little bit warmer, you'd be stoked, right? And large numbers of the population live in areas that are too cold, okay? So gas-powered jet engines with air pollution are a problem. They deposit chemicals in the upper atmosphere. So they just need better engines, right? And the water can power the jet engines too, just like water can power our cars. And then air pollution is a big problem. But if we were to switch to powering it with water, it wouldn't be as big of a deal, right? And then there's also free energy technologies, which will probably make a comeback. Tesla had free energy technologies 100 years ago. Tesla was an incredible genius. If you haven't read some books on Tesla, I highly recommend it. He's probably the most brilliant inventor in human history, probably. He invented everything that we use today. He invented the radio. He invented electricity, basically. He invented especially alternating current. He invented so many things. You can't even keep track of how many things he invented that we still use today and haven't even improved upon. Okay, he was truly a godsend. Okay, let's just see if we have any comments. Okay, and yeah, but air pollution is a problem, right? That's why we do need common sense regulations to monitor these sorts of things, and that's why not all regulations are bad. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with oil, coal, and natural gas. They can be cleaned up. And nuclear power is actually one that people don't realize is actually quite bad. Okay, so nuclear power is actually much worse than people realize. It's worse because, first of all, you get low-level radiation just from handling of the material. The mining it is a big issue. So when you mine it, you release radioactive contaminants. It's really bad for the workers. It's bad for workers and people that live around the plants. If you look at statistics, people that live around nuclear power plants have much higher incidences of cancer They don't really tell you that, but it seems to be the case. And also, the meltdowns that they have are horrific. And once they only have like a 50-year lifespan, and after that, they basically just become a contaminated chunk of concrete that you have to like pour tons and tons and tons of concrete over it and just seal it up, and it's just sitting there radiating the earth. So nuclear power is not good. Okay. Solar and wind power are not very good. I would say especially wind power is not very good. I do think that there's a place for solar, especially if you live in a certain climate, right? If you live like in a northern climate, solar is not very good. And it gets hyped up a lot, but it's really not feasible for most people. But if you live in like Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, and it's hot and arid and you have lots of sunshine most of the time, solar is great, right? And then especially if you have battery backups. But it's really most efficient if you live in a desert type area, and then you have a battery that you can use at night. Okay. But wind especially isn't usually that efficient. But in some areas, solar can be quite good. Okay, so deep earth problems. So, deep tunnels and with metal parts such as subway tunnels do not tend to be a problem. And most military bases are okay. So waste disposal. So high temperature incineration of recyclable materials is a good solution. Glass is fairly clean, he talks about. And some of the glass is not always better than newer plastics when they're correctly designed. And so this will, a lot of what he's talking about is a lot of the newer plastics are more biodegradable and easier to get rid of. Okay. And so we're getting better at designing plastics. We should design better things through technology. Okay. So it's important to love your home. Okay. So appreciate Earth, take walks, love the Earth. And we are not here to kill the planet. The Earth is a living being, and the Earth keeps us on here for a reason. Okay. I talked about this when I did a podcast with Dustin James, the clairvoyant. He talked about how Earth keeps us on here because, part of it is actually we're here to move energy downwards, right? The Earth keeps us here because if we move energy downwards, it helps heal the Earth, right? Because human beings are like the only animal that can do the pulling down exercise, which is an interesting thing, okay? So this talks about truth and only truth. So this talks about how NPR and most of the truth that people think is truth is not actually truth, okay? So you have to be very, very skeptical when you watch things like CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NPR. Realize that these are controlled and they want to control the flow of information. And websites like this are very useful. And I've made a video on this channel where I talk about sources of information I use. Unfortunately, Drudge Report is not good anymore. Maybe I'll make an updated video about services that I use on the internet to keep safe. Okay, so yeah, the Wall Street manipulation is very the Federal Reserve is unconstitutional. Okay, it explicitly says in the Constitution that only Congress can mint money, and it has to be gold and silver. The Federal Reserve is insane. Okay, he talks about how gold should be the standard for money. And yeah, if you don't own any gold and silver, I recommend definitely owning some gold and silver. And in my opinion, silver is even more undervalued than gold. But owning both is good, I think. Okay, it'll always have value, right? Okay. And so yeah, this just talks about the problems with congressmen, Congress, and things like that, saying that Israel is bad. So you'll notice that there are a lot of Jew hate on the internet nowadays. It's because people are sick and they spend too much time on the internet, not enough grounding, and then they go out into these kind of conspiracy theories that the Zionists and the Jews are behind everything and the Holocaust isn't real and that Israel is taking over the world. Israel is a little tiny nation surrounded by enemies, okay? To think that the Jews are taking over the world and some kind of whacked out conspiracy, it's basically what it is. It's like kind of like information false flag, similar to like people that believe flat Earth theory, right? And so people go too far into the conspiracies, and before they know it, they think the Earth is flat. Okay, it's the same thing. What it is it's false information they use to control you, right? Especially a certain segment of the population that is more questioning of everything, right? But you have to be able to discern. You need to ground yourself so you can be able to discern the truth. Okay. So this talks about homosexuality and why he thinks it's not okay, such as AIDS, and homosexuals, especially men, having anal intercourse does spread disease much more than vaginal intercourse. That's just a fact. Whether you're for homosexual marriage or not, it does spread diseases much more due to the nature of it. Okay, utopianism, communism, socialism. These three movements on Earth are terribly dangerous, which is the worst being utopianism. This is the idea that human beings are all good. They just need the right leaders to make things work right. Okay. So it talks about the problems with communism and socialism. And many of the young people today in America, unfortunately, are brainwashed into socialism. Okay. But socialism doesn't work. It's never worked. And to think that it will work is insanity. Okay. Now you need, as we talked about, you need regulations, right? First of all, you need regulations for environmental reasons. Okay. You don't want to allow enterprises to destroy the earth. And also, you don't want to allow monopolies. It is the government's duty to break up monopolies. We're seeing this today with Google and Facebook and some of these giant corporations that have monopolies on many of the industries today. And in this instance, it is right that the government goes in and breaks up these monopolies. Okay? So humanity is not evil. So this is another dangerous philosophy that human beings are inherently evil. The truth is that human beings are not inherently evil, okay? Yeah, we don't want you don't want to believe that you're inherently evil, right? Because then it kind of creates it kind of creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you believe that you are inherently evil, then there's more of a likelihood that you do become evil, okay? You know, and then he talks about how the Bible is neither good or evil. Okay, so support the president, okay? There's a reason why Donald Trump is the target for so much misinformation and lies and propaganda, okay? And then they lie to you, and they tell you that he's an evil man. They tell you sick things, that, like he's attracted to his daughter. They tell you that he's ruining America, and it's all lies, okay? So that might trigger some of the people that are watching this, but it is the truth. And if you don't realize that's the truth, then that's on you, not me, okay? And it might not be what you want to hear. A lot of people don't like Donald Trump because they actually, in my opinion, are scared of the father energy, okay? Christianity, the pulling down exercise, strict laws, and a free market system are all very father energy-like. And this website and Donald Trump has more of a father energy about him. And many people are angry at the father energy because they're angry at God. And God is more of a father energy. And so just the energetic presence of Donald Trump makes them angry because it brings up their own traumas and lies. Okay? This is an important energetic reason for why many sick people do not like Donald Trump. And it is the truth. Okay? And so you have to realize that the trade war is not a trade war. Okay? The Chinese have been stealing our intellectual property and have been basically declaring economic war against the U.S. for at least a decade, probably more like 30 years. And Donald Trump is the first person to say no, okay? And you have to realize that when they talk about how we shouldn't have tariffs on China and stuff like this, you do have to realize that China has had tariffs on our products and has had unfair trade practices against us for many, many years. And that's why so much of our money and so much of our intellectual property has gone to China, okay? And the Chinese government is not a good thing in today's world. They completely control their economy and they control their people through information warfare. And it's not a trade war. What it is Donald Trump in America saying, hey, you have to play by the rules and you can't keep doing this, okay? You can't. And America has been hollowed out by China in a lot of ways, okay? This talks about the history of the Republican Party and how how America ended slavery and how it was really the Republican Party is really the freedom party, and the Republican Party is the party that freed the slaves, and it's the the first senators in America. If you look it up, this is really interesting. People don't know this. The first Republican senator or congressman was like 100 years before the first Democratic senator. Literally like 100 years before the first black congressperson from the Democratic Party, whereas the Republican Party allowed black people to be representatives more than 100 years. Look it up. It's a truth. It's people don't realize this. So think carefully. We suggest turning off your television set, your computer, your phone, your radio, and think carefully what kind of American nation, what kind you really want. Do you want Islam with its legal raping of all women and its legal murder? If you want it, so be it. We doubt it if you think clearly. So become Islamophobic and proud of it. Do you really want an elite class of people ruling over you who have destroyed every nation they have controlled? Just look at the tyranny of Venezuela, the Soviet Union, and many other failed states. Think carefully and make the right decision. Okay. So let's see if we have any questions or comments here. I don't think we have a lot. Yes, Lee. Lots of brainwashing going on, like how farts are causing global warming. Yep, same thing with YouTube, deleting channels and hiding truth. If this channel gets too big, they will probably delete this channel at some point, which is why, me and Lewis have to be careful and keep backups of our videos. And we do need to be more diligent about moving some of the videos that we make to other platforms, like blockchain-based ones that can't be deleted, because this YouTube channel is censored as well with their algorithms. Many people don't see it as much as they used to. Let's see, another comment. Since starting the program, I've gone from writing in Bernie Sanders in 2016 to planning to vote for Trump in 2020, probably because I'm thinking much more clearly. Yes, that's probably why. And many people don't like to hear this, but if they do the program, and especially the pulling down exercise, they do tend to become more conservative. Okay. I experienced this in myself. I voted for Obama the first time around, okay? And then I kind of flipped and I became super libertarian and I was super anti any law. But, you want to have clarity when it comes to both, right? Not all laws are bad. I don't think anymore that you want to have complete libertarianism. Some laws are important, okay? Like environmental laws. Do you want giant corporations dumping mercury into the rivers? No. And it's our responsibility to have a government that can and have laws that can stop that, right? But yes, I don't know how to pronounce your name. William. It's a different language. It sounds like Nordic. I think you're probably from like Norway or Finland or something. But yeah, people that do the program, especially the pulling down exercise, and they become more young and they can think more clearly, they do tend to become more conservative and less socialist. People, in my experience, people that are more sickly do tend to become more socialist. The reason for this is not only is it that they can't think as clearly, but it's also because they're not as able to take care of themselves, right? If you're healthy and you have energy and you can go out and make money and take care of yourself, you're more likely to be conservative or libertarian, right? Whereas if you can't think and you can't take care of yourself and you're sick all the time, you need someone to take care of yourself. You need the nanny state to take care of yourself. And that's an important hidden reason why America has become more socialist than it used to be. The health of the body is very important. And going back to healing the earth, when you heal yourself, you heal the earth. We've talked about that before. And so healing yourself, doing the pulling down exercise, you're actually moving energy from the heavens to the earth. And there's a reason why the earth lets us here. The earth is a living being and it wants us to do the pulling down exercise so that we can heal it and help the earth develop. Okay. So that's it. If you have any questions, comment down below and I will try to answer them in the comment section. Thank you for the comments, Tara, Lee, and William. Don't know how to say the last name. And yeah, I'll be back. Hopefully we can do another one of these. All right, bye.